Good evening. My name is LaQuinta Newman, and I am a first-year grad student at the Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Today, I want to welcome you to join in on my discussion about the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Act. There are three things regarding this act that I want to engage in. First, I'll give you some background information, then the proposed changes, and lastly, what this reform will have on consumers. The Dodd-Frank Act is a United States federal law that places regulation of the financial industry in the hands of the government. The legislation, which was enacted in July 2010, created financial regulatory processes to limit risk by enforcing transparency and accountability. Because the Great Recession of the late 2000s was due in part to low regulation and high reliance on large banks, one of the main goals of the Dodd-Frank Act was to subject banks to more stringent regulation. The Act created the Financial Stability Oversight Council, or FSOC, to address persistent issues affecting the financial industry and prevent another recession. By keeping the banking system under a closer watch, the Act seeks to eliminate the need for future taxpayer-funded bailouts, to both ensure cooperation by financial insiders and fight corruption in the financial industry. The Dodd-Frank Act contains a whistleblowing provision to encourage those with original information violations to report them to the government. Whistleblowers receive a financial reward. Donald Trump has to repeal Dodd-Frank, and on June 8th, the House of Representatives voted to replace it with the Financial Choice Act, which will roll back significant pieces of Dodd-Frank. The Choice Act, however, is not expected to pass the Senate in its entirety. Some of these changes are as follows. Raising the consolidated asset threshold for a bank to be treated as systematically important for $50 billion to $250 billion. Banking organizations with total assets between $50 billion and $100 billion will become exempt from Dodd-Frank's enhanced supervision requirements upon the bill's enactment, whereas banking organizations with assets between $100 billion and $250 billion would generally become exempt 18 months after the bill's enactment. For banking organizations with assets of less than $250 billion, the Federal Reserve Board will retain the authority to apply enhanced prudential standards on a case-by-case basis. The banking agencies to create a community bank leverage ratio of not less than 8% and not more than 10% will be applicable to depository institutions with total consolidated assets of less than $10 billion. A community bank that meets the community bank leverage ratio will be deemed to have met generally applicable leverage capital and risk requirements and be considered well capitalized under the Federal Deposit Insurance Act. Raising the asset threshold for a required company run stress tests by a banking organization from $10 billion to $250 billion and requiring such stress tests to be on an annual basis instead of an annual basis. Exempting the Volcker rules, proprietary trading, and covered fund prohibitions, any banking organization that has less than $10 billion in total consolidated assets and total trading assets and trading liabilities that are not more than 5% of total consolidated assets. Treating as qualified mortgages under the Truth in Lending Act certain mortgage loans that are originated and retained in portfolio by an insured bank or a credit union with less than $10 billion in total consolidated assets, thus removing these loans from the general coverage of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's ability to repay mortgage origination rules. Clear wins include higher prudential standards, including for capital, the single point of entry resolution authority, creation of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and greater transparency and oversight of derivatives. Clear losses are restrictions on Federal Reserve Emergency Lending Authority and forcing the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation to obtain permission from Congress before providing temporary liquidity guarantees. Costly trade-offs are the Volcker Rule and the Lincoln Amendment. Unfinished business includes regulatory consolidation and more independence for the Financial Stability Oversight Council and the Office of Financial Research. It's too soon to tell if the requirements will hold for leverage ratios, capital buffers, stress testing, and liquidity requirements, but I'm sure time will tell. I would like to thank you for tuning in to my video today. If there's any questions you'd have, I'd like you to comment in the comment section. I would like all feedback, positive and negative. And thank you for joining me. Until next time.